we're back. It is week 5 of NFL, and I got to tell you, after this last week where fucking some of my spicy takes actually got there and I didn't have any assholes blowing up my lineup, I'm particularly excited for week 5 of NFL. I hope you are too. And if it's Tuesday and you're not already wanting to get those juices flowing about who you should be considering, some weird stacks, some games that you want to get involved in, then you don't have much of a process, pal. What's up, new guy? I'm Degenerate75. I am a DFS content creator who is here to help you get a little bit better at DFS. If you don't know, you're doing so many things wrong that you're not even familiar with, and you're going to watch a ton of shows this week with people's picks and plays and all that nonsense. And really, the P word you should be focused on is process. You need to have a process. You need to improve on it, and I am here to help you get better at that. Oh, and I have the other guy who is the king of the process with me. His name is Tyler Tamboline. Tyler, Toe Tagging Tambo. What's up, my brother?
What's up, man? We're back. Love doing the show every week. We're back on your channel. Hopefully, no technical difficulties this time. I don't know if it was me or you last time, but we're back here. Excited to be with you as always and ready to talk some week 5.
Look, nowhere Canada and Oklahoma, not two places noted for great internet connections. So you people will deal with it, okay? I believe that actually is the city you're from, right? Nowhere Canada?
Nowhere, yeah, you can call it that, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful city. Love it. Lord's country up there. Any big thoughts on last week? Did you, was it a good week for you? Did you see any interesting takeaways? The Millionaire Maker lineup? Any spicy takes before we just jump balls deep into this week?
I like the showdown streets last week. Those were good to me. The Thursday Night Football one got there, took that down, and then King of the Beach on Sunday night. But the main slate, same thing as always, get on the right. So we had some of the right stuff last week. It was just in the wrong places. Certain things that you had to have key pieces, the Miami guys going nuts again. Like you have Achan going off, whatever it was. I think another 2 touchdowns and more. You had Herbert for Chicago, Justin Fields week with him and with DJ Moore and Komet and all that. So I didn't have the right combinations of it all, but good week in showdown. And as far as that Millie Maker winner, we reviewed it on our channel on Monday and wild stuff, but good conviction from him. Like obviously went with what he wanted and kept it moving from there.
Was it I didn't even see. Was it Justin Fields that won? Was it a Justin Fields lineup that won it all?
Yeah, it was there wasn't a lot of correlation to it, but it was Fields. And I think it was Fields and Komet. I'd have to go back and look at it again, but we broke it all down just so we could see it back and forth. But random lineup, it gets there. It wasn't as much correlation as what you would expect, but just had to have the right plays in the right places to take down that tournament.
I got to tell you, I went all in. I only ran Anthony Richardson stacks. So A, good news because Anthony Richardson is a fucking fantasy god. B, he was in a great correlated game, so Kieran Williams and Puka were there with him. Bad news is that guy refuses to take anybody to the finish line with him. He's like, fuck everybody else. Pittman, Downs, Granson, y'all can fuck off. I'm going to score every point by myself. So that's going to be noted for future memories that you don't always have to stack that guy. All right, here we go. This is the schedule. Come check it out. Me and Tambo do the show every Tuesday at noon, Lord's time zone. Every even number week, it's going to be over on Mayo Media Network, right? That's where it's at. It's not on it's not on Chip, but it's on Mayo Media Network. Tambo will be hosting it every even number week. We will be right here on Degenerate75. So plan on being here. You ain't doing shit at Tuesday on work. Studies have shown no one does dick at work on a Tuesday. That is what studies have shown. All right, so there's the schedule. For every 75 likes I get over here, I will be doing a drawing that you can build a lineup with me. I will split the money with you 50-50. And a great mathematician once told me $500,000 is $500,000. And I would love to PayPal you that much money. That would be cool, okay? I haven't got to do it yet, but it's on my bucket list to PayPal you $500,000. And before we get going, guys, do me a favor. Ship It Nation, which is where my dude, Tambo, that is his site that they run. They have exploded onto the scene this year, and they are offering all kinds of things I don't offer. If October is the greatest sports month of the year because we have NHL starting up, we have NBA starting up, we have MLB finishing, we have peak NFL season, and of course we have fucking PGA, okay? And they are doing content for all of that. So if you're watching my station, I have to assume you like the cut of my jib. And if you ever want to have these other sports that I'm not going to cover, because I'm never going to cover fucking NBA or MLB, I promise you, then I'm telling you the best place to go do it is Ship It Nation. And when you use my code right there, DGen75, all caps, it lets them know that I sent you there. It helps me out. It helps my friends out, and everything is good. Tambo, can you sell your site for me a little bit if I didn't already do it enough for you?
Yeah, I can finish it off for you too. Let you know when you use that code, you get 10% off anything that you want to sign up for as well. So there's $69 a month. You can get it as low as $59 a month on the 6 month. You can get as low as $49 a month on the annual. And then you can use the code to make it even cheaper, DGen75, to get 10% off. But you said it best, my brother. That's the facts. It's October, MLB playoffs. The complimentary piece from your site to ours, when you've got college football going on, NFL with tools like the Rosetta Stone that we don't have, PGA is back. That means Showdown. You're going to have projections, ownership. We're going to have some crossover there. We're going to be sending people your way for that. But MLB playoffs, covering them in full, projections, ownership, Showdown, everything. Then on NBA coming back, I guess NHL comes back first. So projections, the matchup sheet that you guys are going to want for those. And then NBA, huge factor. People that don't know this, I used these projections myself last year, tested them. Now we brought our guy Boomer over. We're putting them out to the market for the masses. I used those to win 3 DK live final seats and parlayed it into 150K at the live final. So these projections are legit. You're going to want to check it out. Get in the Discord. Everything is included in one price. And then if you're with DGen75, the crossover is easy because you probably already have the solver and all that. Once you sign up for us with his code, DGen75, 10% off, we'll get you added to the solver if you've got that there. You won't pay anything extra. You'll just get our projections and stuff added in for all those other sports.
Yeah, and you can get my projections and his projections over on the solver, and then you can like build optimals off of both of those, build your player pool off of both of them, see which which ones are better fitting what you're liking. And I'm telling you, that fucking solver is unbelievable. Basically made me the second nutted lineup for PGA this week, made me a nutted cash lineup for college football. I honestly can't remember life before the solver, and I don't want to. I don't fucking want to remember it. We're going to go over here and look at the Rosetta Stone. We're going to go through all 10 games. Do me a favor, guys. Get in the chat. And as we're talking about each game, I'm going to try to be better at this like Tambo is and actually incorporate your chat into it and not just do it at the end. So if you have a thought on any of these games, get over there in the chat. I will put you up on the screen, and we will do our best to answer it. Let's get to the first game. Only a 10-game slate, Tambo, which I swear to God, I swear that seems low. And then there's only 6 early games. So, like, I can't remember the last time I only seen 6 early games on a main slate.
Yeah, I do like that, though. I will say, obviously, it's the first set of bye weeks. We still have London games. We're in the second game of 3 in a row.
London.
This is another Jacksonville one, but then next week is Baltimore, Tennessee early morning. But you said it. The one thing I do like, though, is how they split it. It's a 6 and 4. Yep. So they used to do like a 7-3. It just is it gets so small in the afternoon where it's like, it's just tough. This gives you more late swap options, more multi-slate options if you do want to play different things. But I don't love that it's only 10 games, but I also don't hate it. It's not like it's down to 6 or 7. Like we're never going to get that. So this is just a good spot. And if you've been struggling on some of these bigger slates, this just cuts it down even more. Hopefully we can help you guys on this first look be able to find some angles in. I thought last week we had a couple really good spots pegged, and I think this week we'll do the same.
I'm going to tell you, I glanced at this slate early, and I've already seen that I really want to pay up at wide receiver this week. So when I start to throw out some just absolutely disgusting cheap stacks this week, I want no judgment from anybody, because if I want to get those expensive wide receivers this week and I don't want to punt at running back, well, basically I'm only left with punting at quarterback, right? And so I'm going to throw some real filthy stacks out there this week, and I don't want to hear shit from you for it, mother fathers. All right, let's get to this first game. Houston and Atlanta. Houston surprisingly better than we thought, and Atlanta is the dumpster fire we thought. However, it is in a dome, and and Houston does have a decently effective offense this year, shockingly enough. Is there ever a time that Atlanta can actually get there as a fantasy option? That's what I need to know, Tambo, because I don't believe they can.
It might be Bijan. That might be the only way. I don't know, because it doesn't seem like Ritter. Even last week, I know London getting a touchdown in London seems so obvious after the fact. That makes sense to me. But this matchup is more interesting to me from the other side. Like Stroud, 6K, but is that enough, right? Like I think we continue to see his price go up. He continues to play well. I think he could still get there against Atlanta. The chat's already talking about how it rotates seemingly from Tank Dell to Nico Collins and back. So what type is it going to be? Tank Dell this week? No, it's going to be somebody else. Probably we'll have to wait and see. Maybe Robert Woods week is due upon us. We've been waiting for that to happen, I think. But this one is at least somewhat interesting because while it has the low total, this is the same spot seemingly every week that we talk about where it's like, doesn't matter if the score is around the total, as long as we get, what's the setup here? We can still get a guy getting 2 touchdowns, and they're going to still be needed in your fantasy lineup. So we can definitely see that. Look at Nico Collins last week. Needed pretty much. He was in most of the winning lineups up there with 38 points. And what was the final score of that one? It was 30-6. So it just goes to show, like you could still get that. That's it only went to 36 points on the total. Well, he still crushed and got you almost 40 fantasy points.
This is going to be a game that's going to be particularly hard to not have any pieces of, right? Like if you're not considering Collins or Dell or Bijan or maybe like a punt Drake London or something like that, I'm just telling you, like there's going to probably be a piece from this game that is going to be a very good piece in a winning lineup. It's going to be in the dome. I don't think either of these teams are great, and when 2 shitty teams play, sometimes those games just go off a little bit. So that would be my take here. Let's see. Here's a good question from Steven. Is Kyle Pitts now unplayable? Have we just given up on that motherfather? $3,300 Kyle Pitts, and no one wants to play him.
Yeah, maybe this is the spot.
God. What
3,300 is insane to see the drop. We just talked about Stroud hitting the 6K number and maybe going up from there, and now you see this guy at 3,300. That's bad. But man, it's been bad. Like that's the thing. What's his best week? Is there even a 19? No, that was actual. Yeah, 19 back in October of last year. Since then, not a single double-digit week. Before that, one with 10 points. Like, it's bad.
There's my narrative. It's October. He only has big weeks in October. There it is. We're there. We're all in on that slapdick Kyle Pitts.
We're all about the process, baby. But this guy, when he does it in October, every year since last year,
every single year, he has a big game in October. Yeah. All right, here's another one, just a filthy one. All right, and I'm telling you, I'm going to come at you with some filthy ones, so no talking shit. Carolina at Detroit. First of all, another game in a dome, which I love dome games. They just seem to score. Actually, it's a proven fact they score more. And here's what I'll tell you. Bryce Young has not been particularly great. I never thought C.J. Stroud would outpace him. But I'm telling you, if there's ever a time that Bryce Young could be a sneaky stack, it is in Detroit, which just basically seems to be the ultimate scoring place of any NFL game. Please talk me out of doing a Bryce Young stack with a run back of Montgomery's going to be the nuts this week, isn't he? Because they're probably going to run the ball right down Carolina's throat.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. That's the reason to talk you into a Bryce Young one, because like you said, you get the spot, you get the total as a fair total, all of that, but easy to stack up, cheap. And if Montgomery's going to be heavily owned, which I would say early on he's going to be, how can you use him to make it different? Well, if he's going to do his job, Bryce Young is going to have to come back the other way. I don't think, though, we've seen this work a lot more this season. And I got it wrong earlier. I was talking about the 555 millionaire winner. He had a field stack. It was a Josh Allen dig stack that won the $20. That was actually a lot nicer. It was a good build. The setup, though, here is I think you can get away with the skinny stack. Like if you can just get Bryce Young with one guy, and then you can use Montgomery in some. I think you could also use Laporta in some and just have like Bryce Young, one guy, and Laporta, or Bryce Young, Montgomery to use them as the chalk piece, but in a different way with one guy. So there is interest here early on, at least, of trying to target this, mainly just because of the pricing. Even these wide receivers, cheap to go with him. So we'll see how it all shakes out. What's the deal with Mingo? Is he still going to be out? I think he was questionable last week, ended up being out. Is he still going to be out?
I have not seen. I don't even bother looking at NFL reports until Wednesday, because once we get those Wednesday practice reports, that's when you really start to get a good feel. Like every time I've started to do it on Tuesday, I get myself excited that some guy may be out or maybe in, and then Wednesday they don't fucking practice, and then everything that I just thought from Tuesday is killed. So I haven't even looked, and I've just made a rule. Part of my process is not even looking till Wednesday, so I don't cock tease myself.
You're better off, because it's like whatever, and also he's still new to the league. They're not like giving like if I want T. Higgins update right now, I can go type and I'll see something from half an hour ago that somebody updated. No one's really updating on Mingo, but it was concussion. They held him out again last week. He definitely could be back this week, so that's something just to see, to add to the mix. And funny, the chat's mentioned Gibbs a couple times. I do want to get your take on him, because man, this is another. But this week, if we play him, they're going to unleash him this week. Oh, what week? We're on week 5. Do we just play him every week and hope that that's the week, or what's your thoughts on Gibbs here? Even knowing that Montgomery is going to be popular, sometimes it is just to play the popular guy. But what's your thoughts on Gibbs?
I mean, Gibbs just seems like he's almost falling into that Jerick McKinnon role. Like, they are going to, if they're going to be leading and it's going to be a game where they're ahead, I just feel like David Montgomery is just like a smash play. Now, if they ever get into one of these games that we think is going to be a 35-31 game, those are the kind of games I could see Gibbs going off in, a lot like we saw DeAndre Swift last year go off in those kind of games, right? But if it's going to be a game where they're going to be ahead, or it's going to be more of a slog, I'm out. I'm just going to play David Montgomery every time, because they clearly value him as their lead back and a guy who is going to get the goal line carries, and that's kind of what you need.
Yeah, the carries have been insane. Like you said, it's just been nonstop for him. So I feel like Dan Campbell's tried, tested, and true. Like he's just going to go with what's working, and why not? And so just keep jamming him. And then, you get there if there's an injury or something like that. But for me, I definitely still have early interest in Montgomery over Gibbs.
Stewie says, what about Lions defense? I mean, first of all, I'm never a huge fan of spending $3,800 on defense. What is your feeling on, like, usually my cutoff is about $3,200 on how much I'm willing to spend on a defense. Is that a flawed process that I have?
I don't. So far, so good this season, at least. I know the Cowboys came through last week at 4,000, but it wasn't like anybody was on them. The week before, they crushed people at 4,400. The popular expensive D this past week was Philly at 4,100. They crushed people. So I actually would have more interest in the opposite side. I like Carolina. If I'm Carolina at 2,200, you've got multiple reasons. One, Goff actually does sling it around some and can make mistakes. And then the other side of it is that if you've got Montgomery chalk, what's a way to leverage that is just use the D against it. So I actually think Carolina at 2,200 would be a little bit more interest. Now, they could get popular because of all those reasons. It's only Tuesday, but people like playing a cheap D to make everything else work. Who cares? It's defense, but this could be a spot where it makes some sense, especially if Montgomery's going to be high owned.
I played them last week. They got me a pick six. I was perfectly happy with a pick six at 2,500. And when you play a defense at 2,200, it really helps you get to some of these pay up options, right? Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Like, there's so many wide receivers I want to get access to this week, and you're only going to be able to do it if you're punting somewhere. And maybe defense and quarterback is the way to do it this week. Okay, let's get on to this third game here. Tennessee, Indianapolis, another game in the Dome, another sneaky shootout game, and oh yes, the God himself, Anthony Richardson. What's your first takes on this game?
Do we go? Oh, geez, it's so tough, man. I was going to say, do we go back to Pittman? Because here's the thing. Moss also disappointed people last week, but this has been the matchup that's extremely tough for everybody. Everyone's struggling with this one, so that would make sense. But Pittman at 6,400, coming off a bad week, low targets, not much usage, all those factors. Again, can we go back there? That's kind of the first thing that came to mind for me, or the first thing that I was looking at with this one.
Yeah, to me, like, Anthony Richardson at home, I think might just be a thing, right? He just seems like an auto 25 points. And yes, he's up to 7,000 now, but that's still pretty cheap, right? Like, I feel like he has like Jalen Hurts type upside every week. Even this last week, he played as bad of a first half as he could, and he still rallied and got me 30 points, right? The kid's just like way more of a gamer than I thought he was. He doesn't quit, and he's tough as shit, right? I know he got the concussion, but he's taking hits all game, and he just keeps going. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm a big buyer in Anthony Richardson. I will say it is very, very hard to stack him, right? The only guy that got anything was like their third tight end who caught like 6 passes and a touchdown and just tilted my balls. But, if I would have just ran Richardson naked, I would have been fine. If you are going to run Richardson, who would be your Tennessee run back? Like, is there anybody from Tennessee that's worth playing right now?
Man, the thing is, like, it's so tough with these guys. I was going to say, I think Chig left the game for a little bit last game, if I recall correctly. I mean, he's still getting targets every week, 3, 4, 4, catching them. They're catchable balls. He's cheap to be able to use. I don't hate it. The struggle for me is like, what's the, more of the other side, or the first part that you talk about, like with Anthony Richardson is, man, like, is he going to throw it enough? You pair him up with one guy. Do you have to run it back? So I think I would be fine not even running it back. But if I was, I wouldn't mind just using up. I always talk about this, like the onesie position. You have to play a tight end if I'm going to do it. And usually it's a cheap tight end that's chalk, then I may just go to a spot in a different game where it's not chalk and it just still fits the game stack and say, so be it. Let's try and leverage it this way. And that's what I'll do. Something like that. The chat's talking about Westbrook Akine. He got 2? So he got 3 for 25 and a touchdown a couple weeks back. And then this past week, 5 for 51 and a touchdown. What was the situation? Burks is out. I didn't see an update on Burks though. What's the deal?
I know he was out this last week, and I was under the impression it was week to week. So if Burks is back, Westbrook Akine is just fucking off the table. He's not even a consideration, right? A third wide receiver for Tennessee. I'd rather take a swift kick of the dick. So Treylon Burks possibly being back would just completely nerf Westbrook Akine. But I have not seen anything. Once again, I don't even check the injury report till Wednesday. Those practice reports will tell you everything you need to know. If guys are fucking practicing, they're gonna play.
Did you have a Tennessee guy?
No. It's just I hate Tennessee. I just think they are the worst fantasy team out there. They are slow. And even Derrick Henry had a solid week this last week, but now he's priced up to 7,500. And I just don't want to get there. Like, if I'm going to pay up this week, I can't say this any more times, all you listeners. I'm fucking paying up at wide receiver this week. That is where I'm paying up, because there are just some smash play wide receivers this week that I got to just get to. Just like I had to get to CMC last week, I decided that was where I was going to pay up. It's the exact opposite this week. I'm paying up at receiver this week.
Yeah.
Let's see. Am I missing anything in the chat? Anything worth here? Okay, we're moving on. The Giants in Miami. Here we go. I'm just going to lead with it, and I need you to just stomp on my soul. Daniel Jones last night looked like a junior high quarterback for a 1-7 team, right? Just as bad as you could possibly look, right? And the Giants are not looking good, and he's impossible to stack because all of his fucking pass catchers suck. So you could never ever play Daniel Jones. Oh yeah, and Miami's gonna blow him out because all games in Miami they seem to blow him out. So you could never ever play Daniel Jones this week, or you could. I'm telling you, Daniel Jones is good for these random 30-point weeks when nobody wants him. Don't forget, he's already won a Millionaire Maker this week with what he did at Arizona. What was that, in week 2? So a Daniel Jones stack, or just run his ass naked, and then you can run it back with Tyreek Hill, get the correlation, get one of the 2 best wide receivers on the slate, and you've saved money because he's only $5,800, and I promise you he will be under 2% owned. All right, tell me I'm an idiot, Tambo.
I don't know, but I was so impressed that I knew it was coming that I leaned into you and pointed up as soon as you were going to bring the or he could. I got excited for it. I love that bit. It's my favorite one in all sports, especially golf, but this is good for this week as well. And we've played this game long enough to know, right? This is what happens. This guy sucks. Might load up the Miami D. They're going to get 11 sacks because everybody did last night. It's going to be the same thing. It's whatever happened last night has to happen this week. Therefore, you have to roll this way. And you and I both know that's not the case. The total is almost 50 here. I think a lot of people that it's ugly, it's disgusting, but I think a lot of people that have played this game for a long time doesn't mean they're the best in it, but just to say with experience, we'll have some Daniel Jones stacks and just try and figure it out. Maybe it's just Daniel Jones and Waller and then figure it out on the other side. It's cheap enough to also make the expensive wide receivers work. A guy like Tyreek Hill, who's 9,000. So again, it's ugly. I know people aren't going to like it, but he's also only 5,800. This is the thing. And you said he's already won a Millie Maker this week, but I know you meant this season. But the funny part is you're already foreshadowing for this week. And then BMAC says Millie Maker lineup will have him naked with 2 Miami bringbacks. And there you go. Maybe that's going to be the case, but I don't hate your call. And I don't think you can get away from it in a 49.5 total. It is what it is. I'm fine with it. And I don't think it matters about Saquon as much as the chat might say. That is not the O-line. That's part of it. He helps him. But I definitely think that there's going to be more opportunity this week. And again, in that type of total, you can take chances. I got no problem with it, actually.
If you had to stack him with a wide receiver, someone forced you to, they put your nuts in a vice grip. Hodgins?
I like Slayton.
Okay.
It didn't work out last night. He was getting a bunch of the snap share, though, just not the targets. Yeah. The issue is you have to think or hope that they step up or make some changes or figure it out a little bit further this week to be able to make it happen. So I would just trust him. He also likes Wanderlei. He was going to Robinson there a little bit as well, and he's only 3K. I just think the chat might be onto it. BMAX said play him naked. I don't know. You could do that with 2 Miami guys, like you said, or you could just play Jones and Tyreek and just do that.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
That's what I like.
Let me tell you, Devin Achane, the guy is a magnet for the end zone. What is that? 6 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. But he's up to $6,100. And I just want to warn people that when you start playing backup running backs and relying on efficiency, especially at $6,100, eventually that shit's going to catch up to you, right? He is not always going to get you 2 touchdowns. He is not going to continue to always be this efficient. Now, I get that there could be a blowout, so maybe he has a bit of a safer role this week, as he will still be getting carries in the fourth quarter almost certainly. But just be careful paying $6,100 for guys who don't even start at the running back position.
Yeah, definitely the efficiency thing. Like last week, I was more okay with it because he was still going into another good spot. The thing is here, though, I think the reason it'll be, 2 things. I think he'll be a little bit more popular because we've now seen it 2 weeks in a row. They're 11-point favorites at home. Like you said, be cautious of the efficiency. He's definitely, I think the stats showed he's as fast as Tyreek Hill. So that would make sense. I think people are going to play Miami defense, and then that will naturally click people's mind to say running back DST correlation. Let's just plug them both in. That's why the Daniel Jones thing, again, as much as people say he sucks, his O-line's trash, you're an idiot, that's just paying the rake. Say what you want. That's called leverage on a slate when those other things are going to be that owned, and you don't have to do it in all of them. That's what I don't think people understand. You could get maybe 10% or 15% Daniel Jones lineups and end up being over the field. If he's 5% owned and his stacks aren't even owned, or if you're using him in a different way, you have huge leverage on the field in that instance. And if he comes out and even does anything to keep up, then it can still work. So I also like Mostert is only $100 more. And before this little breakout the last couple weeks, but even in the breakout for Achan, where he did go and get 4 touchdowns or whatever that same week. Mostert had 4. And so, I don't know, 6,200, it feels like if everyone's going to move to one side, I think there's 2 possibilities of people being overowned, and it's him and the defense are both going to be off of stuff we saw the last couple of weeks.
I see a couple people mentioning Wandell. Could Wandell be just a filthy stack with Daniel Jones? He definitely is getting more and more
Robinson
involved.
is 3K flat. That's what I said. And he's definitely he's off 5 and 6 targets the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
Seemingly, that was him coming back from injury. He'd already liked him a little bit in the past. I think Slayton was still snapping pretty solid. So you could, again, but Slayton, you think of like the big play and all that. I just feel like that's what we're more likely to see this week. More of a scramble, toss on the run, and you got a guy like Slayton just wide open. So I kind of like, we always say, Darius, break the Slayton.
Oh, I like that one. Break the Slayton. Hey, Jalen Waddle seems to be a guy I'm off on. I thought I was getting really sneaky playing him in that Buffalo game this last week, knowing that more people would want to play, the running backs and Hill. And Waddle didn't do shit. Is that guy okay?
I think he's fine. I thought he almost didn't. He had one nice grab there, at least that I saw. I think he still had like
I think he had 3 catches, and when I'm paying $7,500, I need more than 3 catches.
Yeah, I was just looking. I didn't see it actually. It was he had like one good catch or something. That's what I was thinking of in the back of my mind. But yeah, 7,500 is a lot. Tyreek, it's 1,500, but you can definitely find 1,500 on this slate. So I think that's at least something to look at. And then I was saying, like, if you go Daniel Jones, Slayton, or Robinson, whatever you choose, and then run it back with Tyreek, you don't have to stack them up. But if you wanted to, that would be just a way to get after it with someone that just you're waiting for that big play. If he doesn't get it, it's not like he costs you too much. He might still get you 4 or 5 catches. So 4,100 or 3K for those 2 receivers, I wouldn't hate it.
Hey guys, go hit that like button. I see we're getting close to that first giveaway number. All right, next game, New Orleans and sorry, I threw up on my mouth a little bit there. The Patriots. Not a game I love, Coach. I'm gonna let you sell me on somebody. I will say Chris Olave at 6,900. Nice, and he was a guy I loved last week and didn't do shit. So I need you to sell me on somebody in this game because this is one of those games I think I'm just gonna look right on over.
I got one, and we'll see if it picks up steam. And I'm definitely not a chaser. Everyone knows me. I don't like to chase plays, but I played wait and see with Alvin Kamara last week at 6,100. I know what we saw. I know what everyone else saw, and I know his price barely moved. It's 6,300. But what I forgot about, and this was the key to it all, that I actually didn't remember. Again, you don't know the answer to the puzzle until after the slate starts. You do your review show on Monday, go back and do your analysis. But remember what Derek Carr loves, and it worked very well with Josh Jacobs. That's a check down, my friend. And look at those targets and catches for Alvin Kamara. This is a prime example of why I was on, why I was mentioning on the Mayo show last week of like Achan and guys like Herbert and things like that, where I say that it's not really that you're going after something where, you need to see it again. Like Keenan Allen wasn't going to get 20 targets again, probably. Achan wasn't going to get you 4 touchdowns again, but they can still do something. I'm not saying he's going to get 14 targets again, but Derek Carr is checking it down to someone that he knows and trusts, just like he did with Josh Jacobs. And that's what he's going to do with Kamara again. And those rack up quickly, whether he does any more on that or not. I still think it's going to be that. And someone says partly because his arm was not good. No, he literally did this all year for the Raiders. He did it all year. Go look up Josh Jacobs stats. That's what they did. And that's what he's got here now again with Kamara. And again, 6,300 is a fair price. I don't see it as much. And then, yeah, we'll wait and see. I think Carr, did he get banged up again, or is he still banged up? I know he played through it, but what was the latest on him in the last situation? He does.
I don't know. I just want Jameis Winston. That's all I want in my life. I want Jameis Winston because he just throws the ball and doesn't give a shit. And those are the kind of quarterbacks I like, especially when I'm trying to play their wide receivers. YOLO, we call them the YOLO guys.
Thomas Olave too. You mentioned Olave already, and again, obviously those guys get better if we did get a Jameis game eventually here, but. If Carr is in, I'm still going to have some Kamara for sure because he didn't even really do anything with what he got last week. It's just look at it's 13 on 14 for 33. It's because they're all right there. But man, you rack up 16 points on checkdowns. That's, again, he still got 11 for 51 on the ground, by the way. So it's like you can take some from one side, add it to the other, say he's not going to do this again, say he's not going to get that again. He can still do other stuff. And then the chat's talking about Bill going to shut him down. I can't imagine Kamara would be who Bill focuses on when you got guys like Olave out there on the field. I just think it would be more focused on that. And in the end, you can't really focus on checkdowns. How you stopping it? It's literally, it's click, click, click. It's layups. You can't really stop layups unless you get someone else in there that can do it in a basketball game. Get a big guy in there and block him down. But I definitely think that's a good floor to have, and there's even more ceiling on top. We'll see how popular he gets.
I want to move on to the next game because okay, I'll give you a chance. Is there anybody from New England who has any redeeming characteristics to play at main slate?
Oh God, Stevenson's down.
Exactly. Even God can't help this team.
Yeah, it's bad. Nothing I love, at least as of now.
Yeah, I mean, and Ramondre, who's my boy, Boomer fucking Sooner around here. He's getting nerfed by Ezekiel Elliott, man. I can't even play my favorite dude, so whatever. Fuck that game. Baltimore, Pittsburgh. I mean, Kenny Pickett, I know left the game hurt. I will have to see what his status is this week, but regardless, I don't think he's any different than Mason Rudolph. So, if Pittsburgh has no offense, which, by the way, I just want to put this out there, Najee Harris looked sneaky decent last week. Just watching with my eyes, he didn't have a ton of fantasy points, but he didn't look hopeless like he's looked for the past year plus. I just want to say that as a little takeaway. Yeah. But Pittsburgh with Pickett or Rudolph, I feel like they have about a 17-point floor here, and I just don't see any way that they're going to push Baltimore. This just strikes me as a game Baltimore is going to win 21-10. And, maybe you can get some efficiency from the Baltimore side, but I'm getting to the point with Pittsburgh that they're almost getting unplayable. You got spicy takes on this game, especially from the Pittsburgh side, because I feel like they're almost hopeless now as a fantasy option.
Yeah, no, and I don't have a lot of love for it because I think early reports are it's not as bad as what they thought with Pickett, but I think their bye is next week. So it would actually make sense. And it's Mitch Trubisky behind him. So I would actually have interest. This is where we, go back on what we said. Baltimore defense is 4,200. But the thing about Trubisky, when a backup comes in, first of all, the nice part about this, people probably aren't going to want to pay up for Baltimore in this spot. So this might be the only one I like on the early look to say this. But when you get a backup in, usually it's it's a backup. They're just going to everyone jumps on the defense, right? And they say, this is a third stringer. This guy sucks. The defense is going to crush him. But then what ends up happening is the coaches build and scheme for less mistakes to be made. A guy like Trubisky whips this thing around and is going to try and do stuff and try and be special. He's trying to win a job, right? It's not like he's going up against much. I know Kenny Pickett is some people that, like him more than others, but I'm just saying Trubisky can try and come in and have a good game and make something of himself. That's where you can make a lot of mistakes. The Baltimore D has not been anything fantastic so far, but they are coming off a pretty good game against Cleveland and a backup. So I definitely think at 4,200, it might be the only one I would lobby for, but it's just hard to get up and pay that for a defense.
4,200 is tough. Matter of fact, if I were going to play a defense, I'd rather just save over $1,000 and go check out the Saints and the Patriots defenses, right? From the game before, I feel like those, if you want to get part of that Patriots-Saints games, I think those defenses are probably much more viable than a lot of the position players, and you get to save that extra $1,000. And at NFL, where pricing is super tight, $1,000 goes a long way to upgrading other positions.
Yeah, it's Trubisky. The chat keeps talking about it too. It's not Rudolph. It's Mitch.
Yeah,
Trubisky.
Dude. Look, even the Stone doesn't want to put respect on fucking Mitchell Trubisky. It just had Mason Rudolph as the next person in. We haven't look. This is just the fucking filler Stone. We haven't put any data in yet because this is just the blank one. You can see it's not colored up. You fucking deal with it, guys, on YouTube. All right. Nick says, Nick with a super chat. Thank you, Nick. This shit's way too good to be free. Thanks, fellas. No, Nick. Thank you, you mother father, for being here. I know you ain't working on a Tuesday. All right, let's get to Arizona and Cincinnati. Okay, the big news I think we need to lead with is T. Higgins, broke all of his ribs, and apparently it still might play this week. It's just a pain threshold thing. It would be crazy to me for a dude who, broke ribs to be playing the next week. If he is out, does that not just, make Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase at Arizona, who is not noted for their defense, are they not just, the most appetizing plays ever?
It's going to make Jamar Chase the chalk of the slate. I mean, he's got to be up to 7,900. He's Best Buy pricing, not 8,000, 7,900. You can get him cheap, right? He's less than 8,000. So it's going to make him extremely popular. And I would have a lot of interest in Joe Mixon at 6,400.
That's a good one. Joe Mixon, dude, Joe Mixon is an absolute usage monster. The guy's on the field the whole damn game, right? And he gets dump offs all game, and he's actually looked, I wouldn't say efficient, but he has not looked as dusty as people thought that he did.
He's getting all the attempts. He's not doing anything with them, but this would be the spot that I would want to get back in on him, especially if the other guys become popular, like Jamar Chase or Tyler Boyd at 4,500. I mean, you can mix and match and do things in this game to go around it, but I definitely have interest in him, especially if T. Higgins is out. Even if T. Higgins is in, Chase. Nick brought it up. Remember after the game, Chase, I'm open. I'm always effing open. Like he's talking shit. Like he knows he's ready to go. And the problem is Burrow just can't get him the ball so far yet, right now. But that can change too. So we'll see how the ownership shakes out. But as of right now, my highest interest would be on Joe Mixon for sure.
Plus, we're not even sure that Burrow's not still a little broken, right? Like I can't assume that a quarterback that's been that good is playing this poorly unless there's something a little wrong with him. And if that's the case and he's a little off, well, then that really does harm the value of Boyd and Chase and Higgins, and it does increase the value of Joe Mixon. So, I don't know. I need to see it from Joe Burrow because his
squeaky wheel narrative is going to get brought up too, especially even if Higgins plays. That's going to go. I mean, Chase. At 7,900, the price just seems, even though like last week was 78 against Tennessee, wasn't his best game, but 7 for 9 with, good yardage and all that. I don't know. It just seems to me like I think that, you could get a good play here in Mixon. That's what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, and look, I would say this. If you are wanting to be super ballsy and you want to not play the Chase chalk this week, this is assuming Higgins is out. I do agree with you that playing Mixon is just the ultimate pivot because Mixon's success will largely be stepping on the dick of Jamar Chase's success, right? If they're not throwing a fade to him at the 2-yard line, they're probably running it in with Mixon, right? So you could not only be having a good play in Mixon, you could also be killing a chalk play in Jamar Chase at the same time, especially if they continue to be ineffective passing the ball.
And one last thing, obviously we just saw CMC run all over these guys. I'm not saying Mixon CMC, he's not, but he's also not priced at CMC price. CMC was 9,200, he's 6,400. The other way to get different with it is if you did want to go balls in here, like you said, balls deep, you could play Mixon with Chase to offset it and then keep Burrow in the stack as well and just run those three. It's definitely worked in the past. And that would be more likely for me if T. Higgins was out. If T. Higgins stays out of this game, then I would actually be okay with that because the prices are fair on all of them. Burrow's only 6,200. That's low for him. Mixon is 6,400. That's fair for him. And Chase is always a guy that could be 8,500 plus. He's just sitting at 7,900 this week. So I actually wouldn't have a problem with that. I'm just not sure if I'd even run it back on the Arizona side because there's not much that I love, at least as of now. This Michael Wilson guy, though, has been getting the love. He was on was he on the Millie Maker? Yeah, he was on the $20 Millie Maker as the secondary stack. Back-to-back weeks, though, where he's put up 27, 11, and then the week before that was almost 9. So he's been putting up DK points, 3,700. You could do worse, I guess.
And let's face it, if Joe Burrow can't get it fucking figured out against the Arizona Cardinals in that stadium, which tends to have a lot of high-scoring games, he ain't ever going to get it figured out.
And I might like it even more because that's such a good point. And the other point is you just said, like, even if he's broken, man, the spot is like, what if he just dumps off and these guys drag him along? They move Chase more into the slot. Chase does the job for him. Mixon does the job for him. It's a jump up over the top, and then he scoots by one guy and gets to the end zone. Those are really going to boost Mixon's stats. And run it back or not, I mean, it still has a decent total in that dome, everything they've got going on there in Arizona. So I think that could be a sneaky spot. We'll see, though. If everyone reacts to it, then it could end up being that it's overowned. It's
6,200 is pretty cheap. Pretty cheap for a quarterback like that. You're not exactly paying up at 6,200.
What's the
James,
defense?
The defense?
2,800.
Yeah, 20. Yeah. I don't think James Conner, like sometimes whenever they're competitive, he does seem to really be in that. So if you think this is going to be a competitive 28-24 type game, I guess you could consider Conner for a run back. But I also think that Cincinnati could be a team that you just run a stack with no run back. I don't think you always have to have a run back in every game. I think that a lot of times it's good, especially in a shootout style game. But if you think Cincinnati's going to go boat race them 28-10, well, then I don't really think you need a run back. All right, let's get to these. Oh, wait, that was an afternoon game. Shit, I forgot there's only 6 early games. All right, Philadelphia and the Rams. Once again, this just strikes me. I think there's 3 kind of golden games this week, and I think this is certainly one of them. I would love a Jalen Hurts stack, but with this week with so many pay-up options, I just can't see how I'm going to pay $8,000 for a quarterback. But, man, it is pretty enticing because you can get Hurts stacking with one of his receivers, and then the Rams just have such a beautiful concentrated usage between Nakua and Williams that you get that correlation there. But, man, Nakua up to 7,700. Are you ready to pay that kind of elite pricing for Puka Nakua?
Well, we got a big problem here, too, because they just activated Kupp to the
did they really?
21-day practice squad or whatever they call it, the practice thing where technically they could bring him back at any time now. It's just basically saying he's ready. Now, they may not bring him back for this week, and then, you'll have a decision to make, and you probably can play Nakua still, to be honest, just the way they use him, and 7,700 or not, go there. But we will have to wait on that. It's way too early to announce that. There's articles out, and I checked it before the show this morning to see it. They're already talking about there's a possibility because they got all kinds going on, like Stafford, some hip flexor injury, and he's going to play. He's going to be fine, they said, but it's minor. Kieran Williams, much of the same, finish the game, all that. So, like, Higbee also has something going on. They're all kind of a little bit banged up, but if they're all going to play and all come back, that makes it a little bit challenging as well. But nice total, good matchup, push each other back and forth. I think this is definitely a game we're going to have interest in, especially more so by the end of the week when we get more clarity on it. I was just looking it up. 8,600 is the price tag on Cooper Kupp if he comes back and plays this week. He doesn't have to. It's just activation to get him back where he can come back at any time now.
As nice as this game is, it is so expensive to stack. Like, there is no free squares. Kieran Williams up to 6,700 now. I mean, that's starting to get up to, probably a top 10 priced running back. So as much as I love him and as great as his usage is, if you want to have him and you want to correlate him to somebody on the Eagles side, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, whoever, Jalen Hurts, you're spending a whole bunch of your salary between them, and you're really going to need this game to pop off to justify those pay-up options.
Yeah, I agree. Also, the chat mentioned Atwell.
He
steadily just kept it going here. 9,998. Again, wait on the Cup news, but 5,300 versus a lot more for those other two, 7,700 or 8,600. If Cup is back, if no Cup, then you got to look at this. But that would be the side to stack, right? Like for me, $5,600 Stafford, $5,300 Atwell. Now
he does have the banged up hip though. Like he was grinding to make it through that last game.
Yeah, I think, again, like all these guys, I know for sure that was listed as of yesterday. I didn't see Atwell, but it was Higbee, Stafford, and Kieran Williams. We're all a little bit banged up, but it says they're all going to be good to go. And it's only Tuesday, and they're already saying that. So by the weekend, these guys
Stafford's tough as shit. That guy ain't no bitch. He is tough as balls. All right, we got two more games to get to, right? Yeah. All right, so we got the Jets and the Broncos. Look, the Jets are bad. They're real bad. Zach Wilson is horrible. Even when he looked okay, he still looked bad, right? But if there's ever a team that he could have a good game against, the Broncos seem to be down to just give up 28 points to any team in the NFL. Could you ever consider a Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson stack ever in your life?
Oh, no. I don't think so.
I don't blame you.
I don't blame you. Like 4,900 and then 6,000. It's fair. And that is how you would do it, I think. Like you just stack those two. I guess if you wanted to throw Conklin in, it'd be all right. But like, man, people want this game to be a thing. I think it's going to be the defenses, even though the Denver D has been so bad. I just think we could see the defenses step up. I think the total's already dropped from 44 or 43.5 to 43. We'll see how that shakes out as the week goes on. But, man, tough to go back to here. Waiting on Javonte Williams news. I know he got injured last week. McLaughlin came in and had himself a week. So, Mims, 4,000. I guess there's ways to make it work for cheap. This does fit the mold of what we talked about earlier where sometimes you have just a bad total. But, man, like the D, what's the Jets D cost this week?
3,100. I'm actually interested in both these defenses. I feel like both these quarterbacks are not afraid of a nice pick six or two.
Yeah, both Ds do look good, and they're both 3,200. So definitely think that's interesting.
Yep, that's like, and I'm willing to pay up to that much. Not 4,200, but I'll go 3,200. Yeah, Javonte, I had him in a lineup last week, my best lineup, which I finished like 12th or so in one of the higher price tournaments, and that was with him getting hurt, right? If he just goes out there and just gets me 12 or 15 points, I might have shipped that one. So that was a little bad luck, but Javonte, like they want him to be the lead back. They definitely do, but I got to just start wondering, like, is this guy just fragile as shit? Like, is he just one of those guys that can never have a big game because they're worried about if he gets more than 15 touches, his ass is going to break in half?
Feels like that. I mean, what's the Seahawks guy last night, Jamal Adams or whatever, comes back from injury, gets injured right on the first set, and then is out again. Like, man, sometimes there's guys that just continuously go out, and there's not much you can do about that. We hate to see the injury. I was with you there last week. Some of those Fields, more Komet lineups with a run back of Javonte to speed things up, and then that did not work out. So I don't know. I've got a tougher time going here. The chat's talking about it. Yeah, what was that one?
Kenny says Broncos will have 5 defensive players back from injury. Be careful with the Jets. Don't worry. I was never going to get carried away with the Jets, Kenny. You need not worry about that, pal.
Kenny and the Jets, man, like Benny.
Kenny and the Jets. Yeah, I like that. That's got a ring to it.
The 43, the under could continuously get better and better. We'll see, because I could just see these defenses both feast. And then it's how much do they actually score? And then that's, for DFS, you're going to want action on them, but that's also going to keep it under. It's not a betting show, but just to say, I don't know. I don't think people are actually going to get to Zach Wilson here either. I think that's just talk.
A Illini fan says run it back with Sutton. I will say this. Sutton is on the field the most. He is getting the most targets, but I don't know. I don't like any Denver wide receivers. First of all, the biggest problem with Denver wide receivers is they have a fucking loser named Russell Wilson throwing in the ball. And second of all, they really seem to be rotating in all 4 of those guys. Brandon Johnson's had some touchdowns. Mims has had touchdowns. And Jerry Jeudy is probably their most talented guy. So, why am I going to commit myself to Sutton? I feel like I'm just playing the lottery when I play a guy like that. Do you have any interest in Sutton, Tambo?
It's so hard. I was going to just say you're playing the lottery with Wilson. Wilson, like last year, couple games around 25 against Washington. Obviously had a good game there. Last week wasn't the worst, 22, but it's like, man, it just everything needs to go right. 21 for 28 last week with 3 touchdowns. Like, come on. Is that happening? Like, that's the problem. And the Jets are no joke. So that's the other thing about it too, where I just, again, Sutton doesn't need Wilson to have a big game, so I don't hate that. But 5,400, fine. Throw him in as a one-off or something. I just don't see this game being a stack for me.
Yep. Hey, guys, we're up over 100 people in here. Make sure to hit the like. I'd really like to get to 75 likes and do a drawing. And this last game, a huge total, and two, just some tremendous, some top 5 players in the NFL in this game, the Chiefs and Vikings game. And here's what I'm going to tell you. There's going to be some people after those first set of 6 games who are going to be like, I'm winning $1 million this week. And there's going to be some people fucking boat race in the afternoon and catch up to them and leave them in the dust, right? Because there are some huge totals in these afternoon games that are going to have some guys go off. The key is we got to find the right ones. And as great as this game is, there's not a lot of great affordable options. Mahomes is crazy expensive. Kelsey is crazy expensive. Hawkinson is crazy expensive. Jefferson is crazy expensive. And you just don't want to play Kirk Cousins. So, who's left here, right? So as much as I want to get access to this game, what is the way to do it? Because I'm not sure how to do it.
Jefferson's 9,400.
Yeah, that's brutal. Brutal. That is so expensive, man. He's got it. He's basically got to get 30, and I'm still not even sure that would get him in an optimal type lineup, right?
Yeah, and then if he's getting there, I think you need him with Cousins probably, because Cousins is 6,900. That would drag him along.
Nice.
But you don't always need that. That's the thing. Jefferson can have his big games where it doesn't necessarily mean that. Like last week, 2 touchdowns, 26. The week before, he only had 1 touchdown, but put up 31. So he gets to the 30-point mark. It's not really that. That's my problem. It's about making all the rest work. And the problem with these games is if you're going to commit to this, you got to go pretty heavy on it, because with Mahomes, you got all those options. We saw Pacheco come to play last week. You've got Rashee Rice. You got all the other guys they've got. Sky Moore, Justin Watson, MBS, Tony, Kelsey, Noah Gray, Bell behind him. They've got just too many options to try and figure it out. So I think if you're going to get after this game, the other thing, too, I'll say quickly is just that this game is the 53-point total. The last 2 weeks, we had the 54-pointer and the 53-pointer. There was nothing near it, right? It was everything was way behind it on the slate. Yep. Even with this only being 10 games, the Rams and Philly game is over 50. The Giants-Miami game is almost at 50. We've got a dome game in Arizona at 45. We've got the Detroit game at a dome, 45. There is other viable games to get after here where it doesn't necessarily have to be this one. And like you said, the price matters as well. It's expensive. I don't know if Taylor Swift is going to be at the game or not, but Kelsey, 7,600. Where do you think his ownership comes in at after a dud the other night for all the Swifties?
Well, I don't think all the Swifties are going to be playing DFS, so I imagine that he'll still be pretty moderately owned. Problem is, it's just so hard. If you're going to play Kelsey, people play Kelsey, and they almost always put him with Mahomes. And now you've given up a massive amount of your salary to a quarterback tight end combination, and now you're basically screwed trying to get more than one other pay-up option at receiver or running back. So I just think that that's a build that not a lot of people are going to like, and I imagine that's going to keep his ownership reasonable. But I think you said the best point. This week we have multiple good games that you could be attacking, and you need to ask yourself, where am I getting the best bang for my buck, right? The best points per dollar. And yes, this game will have some fireworks in it, and yes, there will be scoring, but you basically are going to need Mahomes and Kelsey and Jefferson to be getting 30 to 40 points to justify those price tags, whereas you could go get into some of these other games like a Burrow stack or something like that and probably just need those guys to get more like 25 to 30 points, which is much more reasonable and much more common, and they're probably going to be at lower ownership. So don't think you have to go all in on this game simply because it has the highest total on the slate, because as Tambo so eloquently pointed out, there are other options this week, whereas these past few weeks, it hasn't seemed that way to me.
Yeah, here's another one too, because M. Andrews, 93 DFS, he's a good guy. He's in there saying like, that game may end 48-3 though. Okay. Yep. It's Mahomes and Kelsey is like $300 less than playing Tua and Tyreek. So which side do you want? In that 48-3, I'm guessing they got there at least somewhat through Tyreek. It would usually be the case early on. It doesn't just because it goes to 48-3 doesn't mean it's all running backs or anything. So I'm just saying you got to pick your side on what you would actually want there. I prefer to go to the Miami game before I go to try to figure out Mahomes and putting all that in on a guy like even Kelsey. He can make you eat your words because he's a guy that can do it. But even you go back, I was just pulling up just to get a curiosity sense when you mentioned how much you're investing into the stack. 12, 19, 12, 3, 20, 20, 9, 11. He had a 35 in there at one point. 20, 11, 8, 15. Then a 38, 20, 15. Like, it's not like he's a walking 30 points or something. That's why I just don't understand. People give it to him like that. I love playing Kelsey on showdown slates. That's where I like to play him, where his two touchdown game would break the slate. He's going to be in the captain slot, et cetera, et cetera. On these types of slates, putting all that much into it, and we have all these other options. If it happens, it happens. We'll see where I end up. But I almost never play Mahomes at all on main slates. And if I did, the usual only way I will play him is with Kelsey and then just let the rest of the stuff work itself out. So it's really tough.
I think you said it best. The Chiefs are a showdown team. Like, I love playing the Chiefs on showdown slates, but on main slates, it's just so hard to fucking play that roulette with who's going to go off. If you force me to pick somebody, I do think Isaiah Pacheco could get in a good script here, right? So maybe just a Pacheco and then a Justin Jefferson correlation might be the way to go. But once again, that's a lot of your money you're giving up. And, ever relying on a Chiefs running back is always a scary proposition.
Yeah, and also, too, like you said, like Tyreek 40-plus feels more likely than I just gave you. Like, Kelsey never does 35 twice in the last 2 years. This year, 33.7, 47.5 for Tyreek already this season. You go back last year, 33, 30, 34.5, 32.7. I mean, it's not even close. And that's just, again, different math because it's wide receiver versus tight end. It's 9,000 versus 76. I understand the game. Been playing it for a long time, trying to help explain it. But that's what I'm saying. When the pricing works out the same, both of those guys are the types you're going to want to have stacked with their quarterback, because if they hit those scores, their quarterbacks are very likely to be with them. So you do, in my opinion, want to factor in what the combo costs, even though tight end versus wide receiver is different. It's still just my point of, like, if you have teams getting there, which set is more likely to get there? I'm looking at stuff like that when I'm trying to figure out my overall roster construction and my build. If you're building Kelsey lineups, you're likely to put in Mahomes, but I see where some people say the opposite. Say, I'll play the cheap stack with him, and he's just the guy that breaks the slate at tight end. We have tight ends on this slate. Like, there's definitely options here that can beat Travis Kelce's numbers that I just gave you.
All right, Dickies, I need you to go hit the like button. 107 of you in here. 61 likes. What the fuck is wrong with you, new guy? Tambo, I'm about to come back to you for your final thoughts on this, but before I do, let's give away some shit. But before I do that, DGen75.com, the fastest growing community in all of DFS, that I can assure you. And you should come check it out, right? Because look at this. It's not about me. It's about the community. And look at all these motherfucker winners. 20,000, 20,000, 15,000, 5,000, 3,000, 3,000, 2,000, 2,500, 500, 500, 500, 3,000. This is just from this past week, right? Which is a little bitty site going up against all these big boys. Go compare those screenshots to some of those other ones, and I think you'll see that it ain't about my fucking screenshots. It's about the people in my community screenshots. Oh, yeah. And I have the best tool out there called the Rosetta Stone, which will help you take all the pertinent information you need to make good lineups and to make your player pool and to have success and to make DFS sustainable and fun until you can finally hit that big one and not blow through all your money by fucking October 15th and be like, well, what do I do now? So check it out. If you want to try it out, I encourage you, just sign up for my fucking newsletter. It is in this description. When you sign up, just let the editor know that you signed up at the DGen editor, and he will give you a free week on the site. It's pretty easy. And of course, do not forget to go check out my dude Tambo and Ship It Nation and use my code DGen75. Tambo, once again, tell these motherfathers why they should come to Ship It Nation.
Yeah, biggest thing is, like I said, October's here. Lots coming down the pipeline. NHL, it's just a good crossover. If you're already a member at DGen75, if you're not, sign up for both of them. But just saying, the price for both stays well under $100. You can get in on the action. The setup with DGen75 gets you another 10% off. You can get it as low as the $49 a month coming down. So it just go break it down that way. But NHL, NBA, MLB playoffs, and then we both do a lot with golf and football. You've got the college football side covered. Just a great mix of back and forth for both of us. So it's going to be a good October ahead. It's been a great season so far in NFL, at least, for the first few weeks already.
Plus, you can get both of our sites. So you're getting two places where you can get information, two places where you can be a part of a community, and it's going to be cheaper than almost all of the competition. I'm just telling you, just do some basic logical math and just ask yourself what you want to be a part of. And I think that the answer starts to become pretty clear, the communities that should exist. All right, editor, let's see. Editor, in the chat, go ahead and give me, can you draw a winner over here, editor? I don't even know how the fuck we do that. Let's see. Oh yeah, and don't forget, while the editor is drawing a name, he wanted me to remind you guys to go hop in my fucking contest. It's in the link of this, the Showdown Hoedown Listener League. Reduced rate, flat payout structure, get in there. And reserve those spots now, because if I have to fucking tweet that shit out Sunday morning, I'm kicking every single one of you in the nuts. And do not forget that the October meetup has been pushed back, but me and Tambo are maybe working on a meetup come February, okay? So more on that later. Me and him, we got to iron out the details, but just know there's two things that me and Tambo love. That's golf and football. So if there was ever a weekend that both those things existed together, might be a good weekend. All right, let's see if the editor drew a name for me. There it is, Stewie. Stewie, you are the winner. Let's build a lineup, you motherfather. We can do Showdown. We can do the Millionaire Maker this Sunday. Whatever you want to do, Stewie. Simply shoot me a DM over on Twitter, and I'll get you. We'll build that lineup together. You put two great minds like me and Stewie together, we will win it. Tambo, let's get to it. Your final thoughts, and then let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of ways to go this week. We talked through it. I think that was a good first look. Just breaking it down, just seeing that there's more than the one option or, what people are going to have in their mind. I think there's going to be a lot of overreaction from some of the stuff we looked at, the things that we saw the previous week. I kind of broke down certain spots where I think it's good to be able to chase it and get after it again or go with it, and other spots where I thought it might be overowned. So I think that's going to be the final thoughts for me is just, you have other places to go. Even on just a 10-game slate, it's almost like things have opened up more than some of these bigger slates we have where it felt like there was one game we had to get a hold of or two games. We've got more options on this slate. Keep that in mind.
I'll tell you what, last Tuesday when we did this first look over on Mayo Media Network, when you were hosting, which we will be back at next Tuesday, be there, you motherfather, we kind of did an inception on my ass where we started talking about this Colts and Rams game, and it really just kind of got planted that seed, and all week I just kept kind of seeing how that game was just a great scoring environment. It was going to be lower owned. I could correlate Richardson with Williams and Puka Nacua, who I liked, and I ended up building my entire player pool around that game. And it didn't wildly shoot out, but it was a competitive up-paced game, and that is where fantasy points are scored. And even though I didn't have that nut lineup, I had an asshole like Javonte Williams get hurt. I had some other guys flop on me. Because I focused on that game and I had the right pieces in that game, I ended up having my best week so far in the NFL. And all I'm doing is trying to stay afloat, and go fucking spike that monster. That is the only way I know how to win an NFL, and that is why I love these first look shows, because they plant that seed where I start to get some really good ideas going, and then I see if any injury news or if my ideas change throughout the week, and by Sunday I'm feeling confident. I've really narrowed it down, and if you don't start considering your process on Tuesday of every week, I don't think you're doing it right, Bob. Okay, Tambo, I want to thank you for your time and being on. I can't wait to do this again next week over on Mayo Media Network. I'm sure you guys all fucking know how to follow Tambo. What is your Twitter handle again? At Toe Tag and Tambo, right?
At Toe Tag and Tambo. It's up there, yeah. People
there it is. If you're not following him and following the Tambo tidbits and his threads, you're a donkey dick. There's no other way to say it. You are a donkey dick. What are you doing with your life? Stewie, thank you. Don't forget to reach out to me. All of you that have been here and liked and subscribed, I appreciate you. Do not forget to go join my contest. I will talk to you guys later. Oh, shit. Editor, where the hell's I don't know where my things are. I don't know how to do the outro. Editor. So you're probably not going to get an outro. Oh, no, it's under brand. There you go. Hey, I'm new to StreamYard. Eat a bag of dicks if you don't like it. Enjoy this outro.